Hello everybody, welcome back. No need to stand on ceremony. I think we all know why we're here. This is Code With Me. Let's start coding. So this week I am refactoring and rebuilding one of the UIs in our front end. Basically what's happened is at this point we've built everything pretty much, barring a couple of like small little interfaces here and there. We've built the main chunk and functionality and interface for our application. And next week we are actually going to be moving on to mobile development. I've never done mobile development before, so that's going to be like a whole new exciting world for me. Hopefully I'll be learning some things that I can share with you guys as well. But so today and tomorrow and the next couple of days, probably over the weekend, I'm going to be cleaning up a lot of the code and cleaning up a lot of the UIs, fixing some bugs that we've just kind of been ignoring for a while just because we were trying to get everything out there and built. But so the first thing is basically because our processes are not really super refined yet, like there's only 3 of us, we're all very new to this. We've built everything in like 2.5 months, 3 months, which is crazy. So we've ended up having to change some things and like iterate on some things as we've been going along. So the product manager, the woman in charge, and the designer have designed things, given me mocks, I've built them, and then they've put them in front of users and they've gotten feedback on those things that are basically like, this doesn't quite work, or this doesn't make sense, the way this works to us doesn't make sense, and then they've redesigned it. So that's not great. Really what should happen is that the designer should make mock-ups, and then we should put those mock-ups, interactive mock-ups, in front of users, and they should give feedback on those, and then they should redesign, and then they should give them to me so that I don't have to rebuild things or build everything twice. But you know, we're learning. So right now I'm having to rebuild one of those things. The other thing about this is that this particular piece of the front end is not a piece that I built. So I'm the front end engineer, the primary front end engineer, and then I work with one other guy who's like the back end engineer. But we cross over quite a bit because if there's something on the back end that I can do fairly easily, I'll just go and do it because I don't want to have to wait for him to get me the thing that I need in order to be able to like keep going. So, and then likewise, if there's something on the front end that, you know, he needs built, or I think in this case it was that I just didn't have time really. There was a lot more work to be done on the front end than the back end, and I was kind of like swamped. So he took on this component and he built it. And it's kind of a hot mess. Basically what he's done is he's not super familiar with the front end, and I'm not super familiar with the back end. So like I've made mistakes on the back end and he's made mistakes on the front end, obviously. And you know, at the end of the day, we're just trying to get everything out and get everything built kind of as fast as possible. So what he's basically done here is just dumped everything into one massive file, which is kind of a nightmare. This file is like 659 lines long, so that's quite long. Typically what I would do on the front end, and what I do on the front end, is I separate things into components. So for this view, which renders what we call a story, which is something that a user is going to listen back to, kind of like a podcast. It's kind of like if you have a podcast app on your phone, it would be like the main view where you have like a play button and you can skip forward in the media and you can read like a description of the media. So this view needs to render, you know, the media, render like the descriptions, the title and the creator and that kind of thing of the media. And then we also have the concept of commenting on and reacting to a story. So it also needs to render all of the comments and reactions for that particular story. So what he's done is just put all of that into one big file. What I am now going to do is go through and pull everything apart and put it into like separate files. So just start kind of separating things out into like their logical components. So for example, I might have one component, as I think about this, I might have a component that renders just the story information, like maybe the cover photo, the title, the description, and the creator. Then I would have a separate component to render like the player, the media player that actually plays the story back. Then I might have a separate component that renders the like the comments and stuff like that. Possibly. That's like somewhere to start. The thing about it is that it's kind of like if you have, I don't know, guys, you may not get this analogy, but like if you have a jewelry box and you don't organize things in it, you just kind of dump things in, and then all of the necklaces and earrings get tangled into this like massive ball. I don't know, maybe no one else has ever experienced this, maybe it's just me, but trying to like pull that apart and like get your necklaces free from each other, it's sort of like that, but with code. So I'm feeling a bit crazy today. I guess let's just dive right in. I've been procrastinating long enough talking to you guys, so there we go. I'm gonna start just trying to kind of go through and see what's going on here. Okay, so he's got this. Okay, maybe I would start actually with the queries, because if I think about how I want to load things, there's a trick you can do with it's. Yes, it's a trick where you load different parts of the UI at different times or separately. So if you've got a bit that doesn't require very much information, like just a header, and all it's got in it is like the user's name and maybe a picture, you'd have a separate query for that, because that'll load very quickly. Whereas if you've got like a comment bead that's going to render like hundreds and hundreds of comments, you're probably going to want to have a completely separate query for that part on its own, and that's probably going to want to load those comments a bit at a time, so that you're not trying to load a whole big thing at once, because that would just take forever. So what my coworker has here is one massive query that loads all the information for the entire page. And what that means is that there's just one kind of like loading indicator that spins, and it spins and spins and spins and spins and spins and spins, and then everything loads all at once. But what would be better is if there was a very short amount of time, and then like the header would render, and then a little bit after that, like the next kind of important bit, maybe the photo for the story renders, and then very last of all, because it's less important and maybe it's way down on the screen and maybe the user can't even see it, is you load all of the comments and reactions and all of that kind of a thing. That's kind of like a little trick that the user will think that things are loading more quickly just because they're seeing something happen on the screen more quickly, as opposed to just seeing one wheel that spins and spins and spins forever and then finally everything loads. So that's, I think, what I'll start with here. Have you guys noticed how I haven't actually done any work yet? I've just been procrastinating talking to you. Okay, here we go. I think I just have to get started now. Okay, so this query is going to be story actions query, and we're going to need to pass it a variable. Okay, why is it not working? Probably because I haven't imported the use query function from Apollo React hooks, and then some variables. There it is. Okay, great. Channel ID is going to be params dot. Sometimes VS Code autofills things for me that I'm like, stop, I didn't ask for that. Like if I'm trying to write something that doesn't actually exist in the file yet. use params. I just realised I'm talking really fast again, but you guys all said that you didn't really mind it. I think like one person said they didn't like it, but oh well, sorry, sucks to be you. I'm just kidding. I think I'm making like other you know, what's it called? ASMR. I'm gonna make other ASMR videos where I talk more slowly and I do more like trigger type things. But the people that don't like my manically fast talking and typing. But if you don't like manically fast talking and typing, then what are you even doing here? Guys, I am on one today. I don't know what's going on. I'm feeling spicy. Probably because... why am I feeling so spicy? I don't know. It's almost the weekend, I guess. I start to feel pretty spicy around like Thursday, which is what today is. Maybe I'm just getting more comfortable with all of you guys, and now you guys are going to start to see my real crazy side. Because, no joke, I am a lunatic. As string. Is that what I want? No. Oh. It needs to be an object, obviously. Duh. Channel ID. Params dot channel ID. Great. Okay. I'll just go return a div with hello inside it so that the compiler doesn't complain about not having anything returned from this function. And we'll console.log data just to make sure that we're getting what we expect. Okay, so that's my new component. That's where I'm pulling out all of the extra loading stuff that doesn't need to be loaded right away. Oh, actually these mutations can also go in there. So a mutation, so just a quick bit of terminology for you guys. A query is where you're pulling data from somewhere, typically a database, something like a Postgres or a SQL database, could be like a Mongo database, or it could be not a database at all, it could be an API, which is like really just a database that somebody else manages. So a query is pulling information from that, and a mutation, at least in GraphQL terms, which is what we're using here, a mutation means updating data. And the reason you call it a mutation is because you're literally mutating or changing the data. So we call that a mutation. Okay, so let's actually, oh man, can I just pull out everything that has to do with comments and reactions? I kind of think I can. That's like probably just the most basic way to do it, right? Like start there, start with the broad strokes, and then from there, you know, you can start to fine tune things. So at the moment, basically what I'm doing is I'm just like chopping this component in half and I'm making it into two components. One to load the story and one to load the comments and reactions. There's a lot more fine-grained detail I could get into in terms of like components that load within the story and like what types of components are within reactions and comments, but for now we'll start by just separating out those two concerns. And yeah, hopefully it works. Of course it'll work. Okay, so player, yeah, so we want the player, we want the progress. We don't need this stuff. This can go in here. Oh, what I need to do is, because we don't have global imports set up, I need to import all as React. Oops, and hit the caps lock key by mistake from React. Oh, I also need to import TypeScript complains if you don't have things in alphabetical order, and I do have it so it'll autofix, but for a while I didn't have autofix on, and so I got into the habit of just, before I imported anything, going through the alphabet in my head to remember like where things are. So I'm still doing that a little bit. Let's see, we still need that, we still need, actually don't need that. No, we do. Well, interesting. Yeah, that should probably just stay in this component. Okay. I have a little piece of logic in here that's supposed to scroll if a user's coming to look directly at one comment or one reaction, that scrolls them to that point in the feed. So I'm not sure if that should live in the main page or live in the feed component. I'll probably move it into the feed component, but now, so I think the other problem is this little bit actually hasn't been working very well, and I think the problem is that because the feed takes a little while to load, the comment that I'm trying to scroll to hasn't loaded by the time we're trying to scroll to it. I'm gonna figure out how to, I could just fake it with a timeout. I could just have it scroll after a certain number of seconds. What I really should do is have it scroll after all the data is loaded. But then if we're doing like lazy loading and we're only loading the comments that are visible, how would that even work? These are the questions, you guys. These are the questions that come up when you're coding. You're like, oh, I've got a brilliant solution for something. Oh, it doesn't work. Oh, it's because obviously it doesn't work because everything's not loaded when it needs to run. Okay, well, we'll just wait for everything to be loaded. Well, but what about if we don't want to load everything right away? Well, I don't know. And then you just don't really know what to do. I'm sure I'll think of something. Okay. We're trying to import this from util/channel helper, and great. Maybe I'll just delete it and just pretend like that functionality never existed at all. Okay. Toggle commenting. Angle comment change. Oh my god, so many effing handlers here. It's just... I would probably just write these inline, but then again, lambdas can have apparently some performance issues, so maybe I shouldn't do that. But I do know at least that this, wait, toggle commenting. Actually, so this is kind of tricky because, no, it's not tricky. So we want the comments to load in the main page. Well, we want the feed to load separately, but the actual commenting UI to load in the main page. That's actually, I should, yep, okay. So that actually means that these updates that I just made should probably just stay in the main container. So the main container should handle loading the main story information and inputting the comments, creating new comments and reactions, and then the feed container should, or the feed component should just be responsible for loading the feed. Yeah, I think that's a good place to start, at least. That means that all these mutations, there's only 2 of them, but whatever, actually need to live in the main container. Okay, so L comes before P. Yes, it does. I am a smart person. I know the alphabet. Okay, so let's see, where's the feed rendering? I think it's these guys. Yeah, here it is. Okay. So yeah, it's pretty. Oh no, okay, this is the input for the comments and stuff. Okay, great. So I think it's this. I think this is the bottom of that div. Alright, so let's just grab all of this. Where did that go? Description, blah 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 blah. There we go. Oh, okay, there's an entirely new row. Yeah, we can just grab that. Great. Blammo. And we will return, instead of just a div that says hello, and return the actual code. Wonderful. Okay, so now we need to import things from the design system. We're going to need an avatar component, text component, a column and a row, and I think that's it. So let's go ahead and import those now. Avatar, column, RST row, typography, from entity, and now I go const text, text equals typography. Wonderful. Okay, dokie do. So great. Now we're missing what? Get photo, format audio position. Get photo, get reaction, format audio position. So he's just built these in the same utility helper file that I created, but I think this needs its own utility file. I don't think that this is should leave that. This shouldn't be channel helper. Okay, so we got channel helper, oops, get photo. I don't know where this format audio position comes from. I think it comes from the component itself. Get photo, channel helper, get photo, format audio position. Where is that? Format audio position. Great, there it is. And we'll just pull that out and pop it in here. Great. I think now, and we also need to import Moment. Moment is a library that is very useful on the front end in JavaScript for formatting dates and times. It's just FYI, in case you were curious. Okay, so basically what I've done here is I just pulled a bunch of code out of this file and I've dropped it into a new file, and then I've just had to import all of the things that those bits of code were dependent on. So now I've got two components where before I had one. One component that is rendering just the story, the title of the story, the teller of the story, and the photo, and then it's also rendering the input box where you would input a comment or click a smiley face reaction. And then it's not really below, but the child of that component, so it sort of renders inside this component, is the feed of all of the comments and reactions that are associated with that story. So I think everything should compile and render. This first file is still really big. It's still like 560 lines long, so we're going to have to pull out a lot of other things and do a lot more refactoring, but that's a good start. I'm going to just comment out this line, and then I'm going to try to load it and run it in the browser and see what happens. It should still, so the goal here is that even though I've just pulled a bunch of code apart and refactored some things and moved things into new places, it should still compile. Nothing should be broken. So you always want to test after you do something like that it still actually works. Now in this case, for some reason my build system is complaining. It didn't used to do this. For some reason, my build system is complaining every time I add a new file. It says it's an unrecognized source file, and I'm like, yeah, of course it is. I just added it. But it should be able to handle that, and for some reason it's not, so I have to like shut the build down and then bring everything back up again, which is kind of annoying. But it's one of those things that you're like, okay, I could stop what I'm doing now and I could like fix that issue, but that's probably going to take me all day and possibly longer because I don't really know what's going on. Or I can just deal with it for now, get the thing built and done, and then go back and fix the other thing later. Spoiler alert, probably not going to fix the other thing later. Because I'm a human being, you guys. Okay, let's see. Yep, get rid of that to do. Pull the action and story action stage separately so when people give leave comments, we can just wow. My co-worker left little to-do notes for himself, or for me, I guess, about what to do, like to do this component is too big, it needs to be factored out into a separate component, and then another one's like to do, we should be loading these things separately, and I've basically just come in and done that. But then after that I saw his to-dos and I'm like, oh, well, we're on the same page, that's great. Program star story ID, missing story ID. We'll figure that out later. Okay, so I have a context here. What is he using this context for? Did he use it just a user ID? It is just the I'm doing this. I'm not using the context for the channel ID. I'm just using it for the user ID because we can get the channel ID from the parameters anyway. You guys probably have no idea what I'm talking about, but that's fine. Okay. So there must be a better way to, oh yeah, this can be its own component as well. There we go. Okay, that's the logical. So sometimes you just got to kind of look at code and figure out like where's the logical breakpoint here, like where. So what I'm trying to do is pull out things into separate components. So just trying to like figure out where's the next logical point where I would pull this apart, basically. And so I think what it is it's this little input box here. So I'm going to pull that out, I'm going to put that into a new file, and I'm going to call this action input.tsx. And okay, let's just try and remember to import all the things we need. What else will we probably need? We'll probably need a bunch of things from AntTD. We might need some moment. But I have no idea what we need from AntTD yet, so I'm not going to worry about it. For now, let's go ahead and begin to build the component, return all of that JSX, and what's broken? Something's broken. Multiple variable declarations in the same statement are forbidden. What? Oh, it's because I've spelled return wrong. And sometimes you get some really weird errors that don't actually make any sense. Is that correct? Interesting. So it doesn't like. Why don't you like that? I don't think I actually do need a moment in there, so that's good. Did I? Oh, that's really so silly. I was getting a big error. Everything was error, squiggly underlined in the editor that I use, or IDE that I use. If there's errors, they get underlined in the code, and everything was underlined, and I was like, oh god, what's going on? And I couldn't see, because I was like, I just made a function and returned some code from it. But then I realized that, so in JavaScript, to write a function, you write equals, parentheses, equals, and then an arrow attached to the equals. Basically I had to equals space arrow. It's the kind of bug that's like really hard to see. It's not even really a bug, it's a compiler issue, it's a syntax error. But it will just fuck everything up. So have I ever sworn before here? I don't think I have. Am I allowed to do that? I'm not sure. Do you guys mind? If you don't want me to swear in videos, please let me know. I probably will keep doing it because I can't help it, but I'll try and edit them out if it's a problem for you. Okay, so we need a button, we need text, we need a tooltip, we need... that might actually be it. Okay, so here's another thing I'm seeing here. Lots and lots of repeated code. So that's another indicator to me that I can pull that out into one component and then just render it a few different times. So what he's done basically here is he's gone button, stuff with the button, button, stuff with the button, button, stuff with the button. Whereas I can go button, or I can function returns a button, I input into the function the things that need to be inside the button, and then I use like a map or like an iterative function, like we were talking about arrays recently, where I can iterate the number of times that I need this button and render it that many times. So I only have to write the code once as opposed to writing like 4 or 5 times. So that's another really good refactoring thing to remember. So we do need a button, we do need a text component, and we need a tooltip component, and I think that might... oh no, we need a form. We need a form component for submitting the user data. Okay. Oh, we also need to wrap everything in a React fragment, because React doesn't allow you to return multiple elements from the same function, so you have to wrap. If you've got lots of elements being returned, you have to wrap them in one single, like, parent element. And then I also need to export this component, what did I call it? Action input as, or I should just export default action input. Beautiful. Okay, why don't you... oh, It's not actually a thing that's importable. You have to import the parent module. Oops, I've spelled typography. And then you have to pull that child component out of the parent component. Okay, great. So I can see here I'm going to need to pull in a few bits of state and types. Where does that type come from? Do I no longer need that? Channel context? That doesn't seem right. What? I might have accidentally deleted something that I didn't really mean to delete. Scheiße. That's really annoying. Well, whatever. I know what it's supposed to be. I'll just put it right back in. So... Oh. Good job, me. That's not what I meant to do there. Okay. Okay, there we go. That makes sense. Alright, so now I can actually start pulling up some of these things because I do need them in this new component that I've just built. Reply message. I don't think I'm gonna worry about that. Get reaction info, channel helper. So we just need to import the channel helper, and I'm gonna have to refactor that as well because we really want to be calling this the story helper because this is now the story view. So that's the kind of thing like it doesn't really matter, but if someone comes back later, so what I'm talking about is basically where in the code certain functions are defined. Basically, I built a file called channel helper, and the channel helper contains all of the little kind of like little functions that just do certain things, like pulling a user's photo out of a user object, or formatting a date in the right way, or let's see, what's another one? Finding the count of like how many unread messages you have, like little bits of code that do a certain thing. These are all like helper functions, and so I defined some channel helper functions in this channel helper file, and then my coworker has put all of his functions also into that channel helper file, but his functions really only apply to the story view, not the channel view. So what I want to go and do is pull his functions out of that file and put them into the separate story helper file, which isn't like so important, but it's the kind of thing that if another engineer comes on later and they're looking for something in the code, it'll just be like a little bit more difficult for them to find. So anyway, we're just like cruising along here. I don't know what that. I'm pretty sure this is coming from the channel helper. This is coming from the. Well, so what I should do is just do find classes in the file and then go, wait, what the hell? Oh, I did a find but not a select. Whoops. Okay, so we'll go like that, and we'll go add this to all of those. There we go, perfect. And now here we've got commenting, reply message. I don't think, oh, there also needs to be an icon, EFGHI. We've pulled out about 300 lines of code, and then we've split those 300 lines into two separate files. So those two files are now about 150 lines each, and this is about 350 lines. You can probably even pull more out and pull more from those other two files as well. But this is a really good start. It's a lot more readable. It's a lot more manageable. Things are a lot more compartmentalized, and they're all dealing with their own logic as opposed to all just being in one massive file. So yeah, I feel good about this. I think I've been talking for quite a long time, and yeah, I think this is a pretty good place to stop. So what we were doing today is a lot of just refactoring. I didn't actually get to the rebuilding of the UI yet. So what refactoring is basically is changing the code without changing any of the stuff that the code renders or does. So you should be able to refactor code without affecting any functionality or anything that appears on the screen. That's kind of the point of refactoring a lot of the time, is either to improve performance, which this probably, actually yes, this will improve performance because it's going to load all of the components separately as opposed to loading everything all at once. So it may not actually be faster, but it will load parts of the page more quickly, which will improve the user experience because users will think that it's loading faster. It will also improve the readability of the code, so if another engineer comes in afterwards and tries to go through this, they will have just a much easier time understanding things. That's like a big part about code that I don't think a lot of people really think about or realize, is that a lot of what you're doing is reading other people's code and trying to understand what the hell they were thinking and how their code works. So the more readable and understandable you can make your code, the better, because if someone else comes onto our team and has to spend like 2 weeks or something just trying to figure out what's going on, that's just really not good for us, right? It's very inefficient. So doing things like this, it can feel, I kind of really enjoy it personally. I know a lot of people really hate it. It can feel like a massive chore, and it is. It's the kind of thing that, like, you look at 600 to 700 lines of code that you didn't write and you're like, oh god, what am I going to do here? But once you start to get into it, things start to come up, things start to present themselves, that you start to kind of figure out logical places where you can start to improve things. So it can feel like a Herculean task, but it's really not when you start to get into it and really start to break it down. Kind of a good metaphor for life, if you like. Yeah, sorry for the extreme manicness today. I actually haven't been drinking coffee. I've been drinking decaf coffee all week. Oh man, 2 days ago I got a really, really bad headache about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I had to go home. I was like, guys, I can't do this. I was like, it's either caffeine addiction or coronavirus. And they were like, well, hopefully it's not coronavirus. Maybe you should go home. So, but anyway, so I haven't been drinking a lot of caffeine, but apparently that makes me more crazy? I guess we'll see as the weeks progress. You guys are really starting to get a look at what I'm actually like in real life now. So, love it or hate it, I completely understand if you hate it and you never want to watch one of my videos again, that's fine. For the rest of you, I will see you next week.